Attention passionate Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the AFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Pittsburgh Steelers' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Pittsburgh Steelers fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your friends and Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Let's get to the news. Now, folks, let's dive into a story that's been buzzing around the NFL circles recently, something that could shake up not just the AFC North but the entire league. There's talk, rumors really, about a potential blockbuster trade involving none other than T.J. Watt, the cornerstone of the Steelers' defense and arguably one of the most dominant pass rushers of his generation. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Is this just gossip, or is there something real behind it? Well, to be honest, the NFL offseason is always ripe with speculation, but this one has some serious legs, and it's worth exploring in detail because it could reshape the Steelers' future and the balance of power in the division. First, let's talk about T.J. Watt himself. For those who have been living under a rock, Watt is not just a star, he's a game changer. Since entering the league, he's been a relentless force on the edge, racking up sacks, pressures, tackles for loss, and all the intangibles that make him a defensive cornerstone. The Steelers, since drafting him in 2017, have built their defense around his presence, and he's become the face of Pittsburgh's defensive identity. Watt's impact goes beyond just the stats. He elevates everyone around him, demands double teams, and creates chaos in the backfield. He's arguably the best player on the team, and one of the best at his position not just in the NFL but in the entire league. But here's where it gets interesting. The Steelers, as a franchise, are known for their loyalty and for their ability to retain their stars, especially those they believe are franchise players. Yet, there's a looming question about Watt's contract situation. The man is currently in a contentious negotiation with the Steelers, and it's no secret that he's seeking a deal that would make him the highest-paid non-quarterback in NFL history, potentially around $40 million per year. That kind of money is huge, and it's understandable, considering his production and importance to the team. But it also raises questions about cap space, team-building strategies, and whether Pittsburgh can or will meet those demands. Now, let's switch gears and look at what's circulating in the media. Philadelphia's 94 WIP, a prominent sports radio station, recently brought up a fascinating hypothetical. What if the Eagles, known for their aggressive moves and willingness to swing for the fences, decided to go all in on a trade for Watt? And the proposed trade was pretty intriguing. According to some of the hosts and analysts, the Eagles might offer a package that includes a promising young player, Nolan Jr., a 24-year-old edge rusher who showed flashes of brilliance last season, and a day 3 draft pick, perhaps a third or fourth rounder, in exchange for Watt and his impending contract extension. This rumor gained traction because the Eagles are in a win-now mode. They believe with Watt on their roster, every player on both sides of the ball would instantly elevate their game. The idea is that Watt isn't just a good player, he's a difference maker, someone who can tilt the scales in close games and help secure a championship. The Eagles, after all, have been known for their bold moves, trading up for Jalen Hurts, acquiring key players in free agency, and now potentially making a splash for a generational talent like Watt. They see their window to contend as open right now, and they're willing to pay the price, even if it means parting with a promising young star. But here's the catch, at least from the perspective of some skeptics. That kind of trade, as tempting as it sounds on paper, might not be feasible financially. The Eagles are already staring down some tough cap decisions with contracts for Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and other young stars. Adding Watt's contract demands could push their salary cap to the brink. And there's also the question of Nolan Smith himself. Was his breakout last season just a flash in the pan, or is he on the verge of becoming a star? If the Eagles trade him away, what does that say about their long-term planning? Enter the voice of reason, someone like Aiden Kaufman, who provides a more measured perspective. Kaufman argues that trading Nolan Smith for Watt would be, frankly, a mistake of the highest order. He emphasizes that Watt is a future Hall of Famer, no doubt, but the Eagles already have a young pass rusher in Smith, who's showing that he can be a key piece of their future. Last season's playoff performance for Smith was more than just a nice story. It was a sign that he's ready to step into a bigger role. So, replacing him for what could be just a few good years of Watt, who is already in his prime but maybe not for much longer, doesn't make sense from a team-building standpoint. Financially, the numbers just don't add up either. The Eagles are looking at some very expensive extensions on the horizon, and adding Watt's market-resetting contract could force them into difficult decisions, either letting go of other key players or making compromises elsewhere. And let's not forget, Watt's contract demands could easily surpass the $40 million per year mark, which would be a huge financial commitment for any team, especially one with cap constraints like Philadelphia. So, what does all this tell us? Well, it highlights the classic dilemma in the NFL. Do you go all in for immediate success, risking future flexibility, or do you build through the draft and maintain a sustainable roster? The Eagles, with their recent moves, have shown a willingness to push all their chips in, but this particular trade idea raises serious questions. Is it worth sacrificing the potential of a young star like Nolan Smith for a player who might only be around for a few more seasons? Or is Watt really the missing piece that can push the Eagles over the top? Meanwhile, in Pittsburgh, the story is quite different. The Steelers are in a different phase of their roster-building process. They've got a core of young talent, including T.J. Watt, of course, but also players like Minkah Fitzpatrick, Kenny Pickett stepping into his second season, and a promising crop of rookies and young veterans. Pittsburgh's philosophy has always been about building a tough, resilient team with a focus on defense and strategic offense. They're not known for making splashy trades, but they are masters at identifying talent and developing it. The tension right now lies in Watt's contract negotiations. If he stays, Pittsburgh has a true game wrecker on defense, one who can change the course of any game single-handedly. If he leaves, well, that would be a huge blow. But the Steelers have shown resilience in the past, retooling and reloading even after losing key players. Their front office is always looking for ways to keep their star players happy and motivated, but they also have to balance the salary cap, roster depth, and future prospects. Looking at the current season, expectations are high for the Steelers. The defense, which has traditionally been a strength, is expected to be stout yet again, with Watt leading the charge. Offensively, Kenny Pickett has shown promise, and with some added weapons, Pittsburgh could be a dark horse in the AFC. But the key will be keeping their star players happy and healthy, especially Watt, who is the heartbeat of their defense. Now, let's talk a little about the division. The AFC North has become arguably the most competitive division in the league. The Ravens, Bengals, Browns, and Steelers are all loaded with talent, and every game feels like a playoff qualifier. The Ravens have Lamar Jackson, a dynamic quarterback who can take over a game. The Bengals have Joe Burrow and a high-powered offense. The Browns, with their new acquisitions and Deshaun Watson's potential, are looking to ascend. And of course, the Steelers, with their rich history and a roster full of hungry players, are always in the mix. If the Steelers manage to keep Watt, they solidify their chance of competing for a deep playoff run. His presence alone can tilt the balance in close games, and his leadership sets a tone for the entire team. But if Watt were to leave, whether through a trade or free agency, it could open up a window for division rivals to capitalize. That's why the speculation about a possible trade, or even just the contract negotiations, is so intense right now. It's not just about one player, it's about the future trajectory of the franchise and the division. And speaking of history, the Steelers have always been a franchise that values loyalty and stability. They've had their share of star players leaving in free agency, but they usually manage to retool quickly. The last few years have seen some upheaval, but with a solid draft strategy and smart signings, Pittsburgh remains a team that's always in the hunt. Their defense, traditionally their calling card, has been ranked among the best in the league for years, and adding a player like Watt only enhances that reputation. Looking ahead, there's a lot to be optimistic about for Steelers fans. Kenny Pickett's development, the maturation of their young defense, and the potential return of key players from injury all point to a competitive season. But the big question remains, will they be able to keep their superstar, or will the shiny allure of a trade or the financial realities force a change? It's a story that's still unfolding, and we're all eager to see how it ends. And now, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Do you believe the Steelers should hold on to Watt at all costs? Or do you see a future where they might consider trading him if the right offer comes along? Would a trade for a player like Nolan Smith and a draft pick be worth it? Or do you think Watt's presence on the field is irreplaceable? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Steelers. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Pittsburgh Steelers news.